Shambho, Mahadev, Mahadev, Mahadev. Oh. So in Kriti, activity, Maharshi mentions, Sanat Kumara mentions that it is a superior activity that is being performed when an activity of withdrawal of consciousness from every kind of external perception takes place. The attunement, his attunement with the nature of reality in contemplation is due to the self-control that he has exercised in his being, which means to say that his senses have weaned themselves from their contacts with the things outside, and he no longer regards the object of sense as being outside the knowledge that he is aspiring for. He tuned himself to the reality of the nature. When an attunement with the reality of nature takes place, there is no necessity of any sensual pressures or senses of the objects for attainment of this. For the knowledge, because the knowledge is not in the objects or from the outside, but we all look for knowledge from the objects of sense as being outside of the knowledge that he is aspiring for. So the self-control, he said, it is the self-control means that the perception from the external sources has to be completely refrained from. Unless this is truly identified and accepted and contemplated and established in our senses, it is difficult to get rid of this objective experiences and objective knowledge, perception from our mind. Even though it is a perception, but we all think it is, still it is the objective pleasure that makes us complete. This is, it is subjective. Everything, unless I accept it, the object also cannot give me pleasure. It is not possible. Or the object cannot give me knowledge. It is not possible. This understanding, unless it is in her and it comes from within, you see, and it's an evolution process that takes place, you see. Unless that is happening, this word meaning of the consciousness of withdrawal of consciousness of from the external kind of external perception cannot be realized. It can be understood through your materialistic mind, the meaning of it. Okay, if I don't have this object, doesn't matter. But the first thing today what we do is that we look for the pleasure from the object only, not from the subject. Even sometimes, even though I know that I can do it without object, but still I say that no object is available. Why not I take the object and utilize the object for my pleasures? Is the materialistic way of thinking, is it not? So this is because of absolute total ignorance, who is not ready for the evolution at all. The readiness of the evolution will reveal that gradually most of the objective experiences and objective pressures you will be refraining from. It's not that it's not a compulsive action that is being taken place, but it's happening. It is just it just happens. That's all. It's not a compulsion. Who will compel you to do that? You see? Nobody. Even compulsion is done only by the mind. Who will compel you? The compelling, what we call as compulsion, is also from the mind only. That I compel myself to do certain things because I want to derive certain things, certain knowledge from the act of compulsion is why I am doing compulsively. It's also from inside only. So compulsion doesn't come from even external sources, you see. Even that compulsion what we talk is also from within. So here what Maharshi tries to tell that the self-control is that it's not a forceful activity, he has said already. The self-control, it's not that controlling something by somebody is not the meaning of it, even though it appears to be that when the word self-control is told or is pronounced, that it appears to be that something is there to control something. This is why we all have the misconception of the self-control and discipline. The discipline and self-control both are very misunderstood words by most of the people. Discipline, they think it is imposed against their wishes to do something against their wishes or in order to achieve something. It is not that. Discipline is not meant for achievement. Self-control is not for achievement of anything. It is only to be you, to be the true you. That's all. It is a self-control. It's not that somebody is controlling somebody. There is no one to control anything, you see. Nothing is to be controlled. In the nature, what is controlling what? Is the wind controlling the water? Water is Jalam controlling the wind? Is Prithvi controlling something? Akasha controlling something? No. But they have a relationship, you see. It's not. There is an understanding. There is a self-control of each one. One can invade into the other, but they don't. You know? Why? There is a self-control. It is not controlled by itself. Does an ocean has control of itself? No. That's self-control, you see, which is inherent in it, that's all. Only when there is a calamity in the Bhumi, then only the ocean, we call it as ocean is invading the Bhumi. Absolutely a wrong usage actually. It is because in the Bhumi there is imbalances. You know, it is the Bhumi, it has got imbalance. When there is an imbalance, the ocean is taking care of that vacuum there, that's all. It is not that ocean is invading the land. No, it's not like that. That is why in the stories, in the Puranas and all that, they said, when the Papa increases, there will be Pralaya, they said. When the Papa increases, that means when there is no balance in the earth, when there is no balance in you, then a Pralaya has to take over. It has to be flooded with something else which will destroy your Papa's sins. The sins are those that what you are not supposed to do. When you constantly do that what you are not supposed to do, even after understanding it, one day the Pralaya come inside me, that Pralaya will take over me. You see, that's what happens. So it can be called as disease, it can be called as illnesses, it can be called as kashta, dukkha, whatever you call it. This is the Pralaya in the human nature, you see. So because of the imbalances that you have created to yourself, this is happening. It is created for you. So it is not that ocean is invading, the Pralaya is invading. The invasion, that means, what I am trying to tell you that there is no word as indiscipline in the nature. There is only discipline in the nature. It will not encroach into something else. No. Is how the self, that's what is called self-control. It is not an activity that it is controlling, something is controlling something. No, it's not that. It's not an activity. It's a natural instinct, we can say, verse come verse, We can say it's a natural instinct. Same way, we all have our own svabhava, and the natural instinct is not to go beyond the self-control. But what happens is that we lose the control. That means we lose the balance of the reality, then we go out of reality. When we go out of reality, the perception of external sources are required. External sources are necessary in order to fulfill those misunderstandings of perception of the knowledge or self-control, to bring back the control. But in fact, it is only an ignorance to think about it, that something else can make me all right. Nothing else can make me all right, when I can, in that common language, all right. Nothing else can make me all right. It's only the jnanam, and being with balance with the jnanam can make me all right. Some people say that you can make yourself all right. That also is a wrong term to be using. No, it's not that you can make yourself all right in the sense. Well, the meaning is right. I'm just hair splitting and analyzing it. It is not the question of making all right. Making all right means you have to do an action for rectifying the mistake. Here, am I right? This is what we understand. If I am right. To make you all right, man, you have to rectify the mistakes so that you can make yourself all right, or you have to incorporate an external output in order to make it all right. When you have an external output, incorporating an external objective output into you, it becomes excess. Theoretically speaking, it becomes excess, because there is one. It becomes excess. It is not rectifying it, it's only adding. It's not rectifying, it is adding. In the milk, if you add water, it becomes watery. It is because the water is added, whatever said and done. It may look like milk, but it is water is added to it. The quantity will definitely increase. Now we cannot increase the quantity of us. It's not possible. So the rectification, by incorporating something else objectively, the rectification cannot be done. Then how is the rectification done? The rectification is done just to be with the real inside that. Just to be with the real inside that, then the rectification takes place. Suppose there is 25% water in the milk. The milk by itself, retaining as it is, evaporating that water from the milk will make the milk by itself. By adding a solution or adding something else will only be an addition. For rectification to anything else, it will be only an addition. And self-rectification, you can rectify yourself. There also, unless that knowledge is prevalent and your readiness to access yourself towards the knowledge, which is permanently available with you, this rectification doesn't take place. Whatever you do, rectification doesn't take place. This is why he called it as a self-control. That's all. The self-control is not controlling you by any method, just to be yourself. So to be yourself in the sense, how is it possible? How is it possible? That's why when you listen to this jnanam by the Upanishads and Vedas, when you take the initiation, or when you have the Guru's presence, when you have the knowledge being imparted to you, it is imparting of the knowledge being imparted to you through your shravana, through the instruments of the senses of instruments, you perceive the knowledge and awaken that knowledge that is there inherent in everyone. Awaken that knowledge, and when that knowledge is awakened, that which is incorrect in you, that which is not right in you, that which is incorrect in you will automatically be evaporated and eliminated, dissolved, is how the self-rectification and self-control takes place. Is it clear? By listening, by contemplating. What is contemplation? By listening, contemplating that it is relating that what I have is that what I have heard is contemplation. It's a relating. This has to be established, When I contradict, it becomes an addition, as I told you, adding something to it. When I contradict, I have no contradiction in me, but when I am contradicting it, it will become an addition to me. When I have an addition of the knowledge, let me put it that way, when I have the addition of the knowledge, which is called as contradiction, will always create contradiction in me. That is not creating rectification in me. In order to rectify that what is not what is there, which is creating problem, this has to be related with what you are listening from the Guru, because the Guru's the imparting of the knowledge in such a manner that what you require is being input, and when that input is complete, and that input has to be contemplated, because a churning is necessary. When I churn it and you identify, and you have to establish, not only identify, you have to establish that is the truth. When that truth being established in you by yourself, this is not called yourself. That truth being established by you yourself, the rectification takes place. That means the ignorance is removed. When the ignorance is removed, your evolution process or what is it? Aspiration process begins. This is how the aspiring takes place. So long there is ignorance, the aspiration doesn't take place. So long there is no self-control, there cannot be aspiration. So long there is a perception of objective pleasure existing in you, aspiration cannot take place. So that is why he says self-control. So he says that knowledge that he is aspiring for, that knowledge that what he wants to aspire for has to be contemplated and established in you. So that is known as the self-control. This is known as self-control. Self-control is that dharmam. We can call it as a dharmam, self-control. This kriti, this karma, it is a karma because it is being executed in us. So we call it as a kriti. So this self-control does not mean a pressure. Okay. Executed upon the senses by force or will, but a spontaneous withdrawal of consciousness from its desire to externalize itself in respect of outward things on account of the superior faith. When that faith, when that Nishttha comes, automatically your Nishttha will automatically eliminate the attachment with any external sources, external objects, external things, external individuals, external Prakriti, external this, external that, whatever is what we say an external to us. This will isolate you from that because your Nishttha, your faith is on one. You have no other time because you are constantly, what is the Nishttha and faith? We have already discussed. When it is constantly established, the truth behind and everything else is happening in the witness of that, automatically what happens? There is the establishment of the faith and Nishttha is there, and through that established faith and Nishttha only things can happen, the truth can happen, the reality can happen, the aspiration can take place. Otherwise, what will happen? We will get entangled into desire. It's not a compulsive action, it's not a compulsory action, it is an automatic swabhava. That is why it is known as transcendence. This transcendence has to have, on account of this aspiration, on account of this knowledge. The individuality in us, the jivatma in us, the personality in us, the subjectiveness that has been responsible for our perception of objective sense has become null and void automatically on account of consciousness ceasing to work in terms of objective sense. Actually, this is what it is. This is what happens. The jivatma in us, which is subjective, functions as subjectively, when the establishing of the jivatma, when it is true, when it is fulfilled, the attachment with the external objective pressure. We already told this 100 times that not to have this, to have the subjective pressure, not the objective. The subjective knowledge, everything is, unless that subjectiveness is there. If I do not realize something, whatever happens in front of me, what is the use? There may be very auspicious things happening in front of me, but if I do not accept it or realize it and see it, what's the use of it? There is no use, even though it is happening in front of me. So when the outside object of senses cease to be, the subject also ceases to be. When one thing goes, its counterpart also goes away. So when the world has gone, the you and I has gone. There is nothing on either side, whether it is subject or object is present. This great achievement is prior to everything, transcendent to everything. So this attunement to the reality of the truth is absolutely a necessariness. That's called the self-control. Nothing else can make you happy. Nothing else can make you good. Nothing else can make you right. It is only the knowledge. That's why great importance is connected with the Vedic knowledge, Guru Parampara, and knowledge from the source where it can be truly imparted. These subjects have been given great importance because only through this I'll be in a position to aspire myself towards the higher knowledge, higher self, the higher consciousness. And this transcended to everything. Then Shraddha, what is this great achievement of human personality in respect of ultimate absolute? Is it what? The ultimate? Can I be enlightened? A little further on the supreme achievement. How can I achieve this at all? What is the action of this self-control that you are enjoining me upon as proceeding to every other activity conceivable? Asks Narada once again for little more detailing of this. They are all very well connected to, as we said, after the consciousness, establishing in the higher consciousness. These things are necessary. And so in the 22nd shloka, Bhagavan explains about the Yada vai sukham labadeyata karodi na sukham labda karodi sukhameva labda karodi sukham tveva vijitnyasitavyamiti sukham bhavo vijitnyasaiti idi dvamsha khanda. In 22nd chapter, section Only one sloka. All one sloka now. He told about sukham, is it? In order to have all these aspects of the self-control or the Nishttha or the faith, Nishttha, and what else was there? The thought and understanding and truth, satyam, understanding and satyam is all these things in order to have that going more subtler from all that. More subtler is that sukham has to be there. Sukha means it's not sukha, sharira sukha. But sharira sukha has been taken from this sukham only. Sukham is not sharira sukha. It's not mano sukha. It's not material sukha. It's not physical sukha. It's not psychological sukha. None of this. Sukham is here. Happiness. Happiness is ananda. We look for happiness. So yada vai sukham labhate tha karoti. Na sukham labdhva karoli. Na sukham labdhva karoli. Bhagavan says, He Devrshi Narada, Sarat Kumara says that I tell you, nothing can be done unless it is propelled by happiness. Everywhere you will find happiness is the object of every kind of aspirational activity, desire or enterprise. Before doing anything, we should have the happiness of doing it. It comes then only. When that happiness is there in you, then only you can do something. Otherwise it will be a compulsion on you to do something. Compulsion is unhappiness. Compulsion is unhappiness. That's called compulsion. It's a different word, that's all. Compulsion means you do something which by force. So there has to be happiness much before. We all say that when I do that I derive happiness. No. It is because I have happiness I am doing it. Now, you say that you have derived happiness by doing it. It's actually wrong. Because you have happiness, you have done it. Even a wrong thing when you say, when you do, you have a happiness to do wrong. So by doing wrong, you become happy. It's not the doing that has made you happy. It is that the thought of happiness that you will derive from that makes you happy. The thought of happiness that it derives from you is called happiness. It's not the action that makes happiness. So unless that happiness is there, he says nothing can be done. So it comes from there. That's called sukham. It's an ananda bhava. The happiness is a very big chapter because he explains it in detail about what is happiness. Happiness is not a state of achievement or an enjoyment or possessiveness or anything connected or anything connected to mind or senses or activity or higher. And this is a characteristic of higher consciousness. It's not created by this one. It's the characteristics of the higher consciousness to be in the state of ananda. That's why in meditation there is a level they call it as anandam. Ananda is not happiness again. There is no word equivalent to explain about ananda. Ananda is a state of being with the Brahman. That's all. I cannot call it as well-being. I cannot call it as happiness, but in the materialist sense, we will have to tell that it is happiness because there is no other equal word. It is superlative of the happiness what you are experiencing in material world. Some happiness we have, bliss. Well, some happiness, the superlative of that happiness, you see. What will happen at that happiness? Then there will be nothing, when there is an absolute happiness, there will be nothing. There are moments in our life where nothing is there. That only that. It may be remaining only for a fraction of a second, but this happens to each individual, for everyone. This happens, but that's another. Where there is no subject, there is no object, there is no. You can't say that you are experiencing it. It's neither you are experiencing nor your senses are experiencing. There are moments, and when you have absolute where there's nothing, no requirement, no desire, no achievement, no world, no this, absolutely nothing. It's called a true, that's happening. So, it is, all other things come from any kriya, krita, it comes from, even the self-control comes from that happiness, because from the happiness only there will be an intention to do something will be there. Unless that happiness is there, you will not be able to do anything. In fact, whatever we do, I'm reading it, I'm telling you, there has to be a happiness in me. Otherwise, it will be very compulsive. You can make out, it's some sort of this going ahead. It's a ritual. No, it's not like that. When there is happiness, then you will find that it automatically, there's lots of things happen without intending to do it, you see. This is the swabhava of the jnanam. This is the swabhava of the consciousness. So that's why you will find prior to everything conceivable, there is a presence of happiness. It's not a feeling. Feeling means senses come there. It's not a feeling of happiness. We use that happiness word as absolutely, as it's wrong to be using in the material. So because no material can give happiness. Now anything is temporary. How can it be happy? Happiness is a source of creation from which everything comes. It's a source. When it is a source, how you can achieve it? It's not that. Achievement is a result. This is a source. From the source only these things happen. You see, so it's a source. That itself is a basics. It's a source, the happiness. You see. Even our life we have taken birth. It's because of happiness. Because I would like to execute these karmas and exhaust them. It's happiness. That was the original reason why this Jivatma took birth. That also is there. So everyone, irrespective of the character of one's individuality, tries to act and to conduct oneself in different ways because of this happiness. You must know what happiness is. It is that this propelling force, cannot explain further, behind everything in creation. The breeze, the wind, the rain, everything is due to the happiness in the Prakriti. It's a propelling force to create. Even the nature changes, it is because of the propelling force of happiness. The same thing is applicable in the individual. Everything is happening because of the propelling force of that happiness. We call it as sukham. Sukham is that it comes in the completeness. It is not partial sukham. That's why if it is a sharira sukha, it's not sukha. It's mano sukha, it's not sukha. Sukham is purnamadam, purnamidam, purnat, purnamudachyate. Where is it sukham coming from? From sukham. There's no explanation from where. So it's a source from where it comes. Everything comes. Not only the sukha, happiness comes. It's not only that, every activity in our mind and in our jivatma, in a prana, comes from sukham. The whole process of creation, manifestation and dissolution, evolution, involution, the entire activity of the cosmos is an urge of happiness. This is what I said just now. Brains. Manifestation, creation. What's creation? Nothing has been created. That's why it is known as creation. Even though we use the word as creation, nobody has created it. This creation has just happened. We have explained, I think, long back in Chhadogya only, what is creation. Adi Shankaracharya told about creation. Not created. We cannot create. Why human being? Nobody can create anything. We all say we have created that, we have created this, we have created this. It's a wrong word to use, but it's okay. I think last time also I told you something about the invention and then the existence, something like that. Okay. See, the urge of happiness is the process of creation or manifestation. Manifestation, we are all that manifestation. Dissolution, again, dissolving into that, dissolution. Dissolving into, we said that the process is dissolving. When we meditate, we dissolve into the jnanam. It's called dissolution. The meditation is done for the purpose of dissolution. Renunciation is a dissolution. Not having attachment with external objective pleasures is a dissolution. I am dissolving them. I am not eliminating them. I am not accepting them. I am not rejecting them. I am not creating them. I am not destroying them. No. Dissolution. Dissolving them. As I told you about the ignorance and the jnanam, when there is something mistake happens, what happens? How do we correct the mistake? We dissolve that mistake into jnanam. That mistake becomes the jnanam. It's not that it's replaced by jnanam. I think this earlier also I have explained about that. It's not a replacement. It's not that I add something in order to make a third unit. No. There are no third reaction. I mean, it will be a reaction then. There is no third. I mean, in chemicals, what happens when I put one chemical plus another chemical? A third chemical is produced. Or a thought and action, if I put thought and action I will have a reaction. That's all. When a thought and action is put, a reaction. Then an emotion will be the reaction of the reaction. The emotion will be the reaction of the reaction. And again, the sensual actions or sensual representations will be the reaction of emotion. So this repetitive reactions only taking place, multiples of reactions are taking place, whereas in this case what happens? There is no replacement, there is no third object being created. There is no third resultant being is involved here. It is simple to understand. When there is light, darkness goes. Where is darkness going? Dissolved into the light. There is no third object coming out of it. Is there third? Light came, darkness gone. Light gone, darkness came. That's all. There are only two representatives there, darkness and light. There is no third object coming. You see? Same way. Dissolution is not rectification or addition or creating a reaction out of it. When I have an ignorance, knowledge, the ignorance is dissolved into the knowledge. Because ignorance comes from the knowledge. Because there is knowledge, there is ignorance. If the knowledge is not there, ignorance cannot be there. So the ignorance is a part of knowledge. So the ignorance is dissolved into knowledge. Now what happens? Ignorance is that we have isolated. As I always say that when we take Upanishads, if you isolate one sentence out of the total context I am speaking, you will find it is absolutely wrong sometimes. You can even say it is wrong. It will not fit into anywhere. It can appear to be, absurd. It won't make any sense, we can say that, because it is related to that context. Same way, when this dissolution process has to take place, ignorance comes because from the jnanam. Ignorance is that when there is jnanam, I take out a part of that jnanam, relate with something else which is not supposed to be done, and I relate with something else, and ajnanam is created. That's why they said that Atma, when it is understood that anatma is Atma, which is known as ignorance. Anatma is Atma. Mithya is Satyam, if I say. And I say, if I am superimposing Satyam on the Asatya, it is ignorance. And Atma on the Anatma, if I superimpose, that is Asatya. When I say something wrong and trying to establish that is right, it is ignorance. I am trying to, this is lie, I know. It is wrong, but I am superimposing truth or Satyam on that, trying to establish, or thinking or knowing asatya is ignorance. Knowing that anatma is Atma is ignorance. Knowing as darkness as light is ignorance. Ajnanam as jnanam is ignorance. That's all. So from where it has come? From knowledge it has come. Knowing the ajnanam, there is knowledge in it. So what happens? This has been bifurcated by you for the convenience of emotional satisfaction, and you establish that is right. See, sometimes it happens. No? So many people, even we tell them repeatedly, look, that is wrong. That is wrong, that is wrong, that is wrong. Objective happiness, relating happiness to that. I purposefully, even though repeated explanations are given to that, but what happens? I superimpose the Satya on that and say that no, this is Satya. Is Ajnanam. Ajnanam is once you go deeper into it, it's an intentional activity. Ajnanam. It's not just Ajnanam doesn't happen. Ajnanam is an activity done by you. Because there is no Ajnanam in existence. No, it's an analysis done by you through compulsive contemplation. As I told you about the what is it? Contradiction. Not contemplation, but when you contradict. Contradiction is an intensive measure. No, a contradiction is a purposeful measure. Suppose I say this is the truth. 2 plus 2 is the truth. Everybody has accepted what is the use of unnecessarily arguing. No. Now the mind says, I would like to prove 2 plus 2 is equal to 5. You see? Then only he will start thinking that how to prove 2 plus 2 as 5, then only the argument starts. So what happened? Ignorance is an intentional activity. I would call it as an intention. Because that, like happiness comes from the source of everything is happiness. The source of ignorance is an intentional activity of contradiction. I would like to derive pleasures out of contradiction. He is trying to look for happiness through contradiction, not through acceptance. Even though acceptance is easier. But through contradiction, what happens? Through contradictions, he has to keep on contradicting till the time you cannot anymore contradict, and finally you have to leave the attitude of contradiction or the knowledge of contradiction has to come to an end and finally end up in contemplation, establishing all this contradiction I have done to establish this is the truth. That's all. Anatma. That's why he said about the Anatma. Anatma is why the contradiction. So where are we? Sukham, we said, no? Yes. So in Sukham what happens? Whole creation, manifestation and dissolution we were talking about. Dissolving. So you should have the, what happens? The jnanam brings dissolution. That's why samarpana bhava. That's why simple things. How to create this dissolution in you? Dissolution to have samarpana, upasana and nididhyasana will easily allow you to have the dissolution. That dissolution will create evolution in you. That's through aspiration. Then only the aspiration will come. When desire ends, aspiration begins. In the lower consciousness there is desire, upper higher consciousness, aspiration has to happen. So when dissolution is complete, evolution process takes place. In the evolution takes places, whereas that is the aspiration. Involution and involution. After evolution, you have an involvement in it, is called involution. It's an involvement. Involution was an involvement. After evolution, there's an involution. Involution is an involvement, entanglement. And in general terms, we call it as involvement or entanglement. An involvement and entanglement is that once you are entangled, once you are involved, there is no more possibility of separation. Is why this term has been used in after evolution. After evolution, in fact, there is nothing should remain. Evolved. An evolved soul, we call it. An evolution has taken place. But Swamiji has taken one more step ahead towards that. After the evolution, what happened? An entanglement has taken place. An involution has taken place. So that, why? In evolution, he has this doubt there. That's 0.5% whether after evolution, whether this Atma comes back or not. By application of involvement and entanglement, that 0.5% of doubt has been cleared as far as I know, according to me, is why probably that particular usage comes there after evolution. The entire activity of the cosmos is an urge of happiness. We explained about that. Cosmic theory, cosmology, cosmic theory, the cosmic activities, anything that's happening, when the cosmic energy, the flow of energy, the attraction, the magnetic force, magnetic field, and all these activities are natural phenomena, natural process. It's not created by anybody. When I become eligible for that energy, I become one with the cosmos. The more I distract me from that due to my ignorance, what distracts us from the cosmic and cosmos? When I am not the cosmos, I am distracted from that. Being in the cosmos, nobody is out of cosmos. Being in the cosmos, I think myself as independent as not cosmos. I have told this explanation, I think, in earlier where the jiva or something when it happens, that I being there, that's how the life form takes place. Being in the cosmos, thinking that I am independent, evolution of the molecules, I have explained about this, that independently it moves in the molecular movement as independently thinking that is why I am considering myself different from the cosmos, retracting from the cosmos. I'm obstructing my aspiration towards the cosmos. That's why my electromagnetic field and there is cosmical electromagnetic field will have a contradiction, we can say, or it is a less intensive. It cannot be contradiction, it has to be same, but the intensity will be low as far as this is concerned. The more I become knowledgeable to be one with the cosmos, my magnetic field will increase to the cosmic energy. So in totality what happens, at one point of time I become the cosmos. Vishwarupa Darshana, that's all. To be Vishwarupa. So the urge of happiness in the cosmos is because of the urge of happiness. He said that there is a desire, there is an urge, to dissolve something out of it, or to evolve something out of it. That's why it's again a source of creation. Even the creation has happened because of happiness. Creation has happened because of happiness. If the happiness is not there, creation would not take place. It's not with the reluctance the creation has happened. With the reluctance doesn't happen. What is that? We can call it as also in our small language. There has to be a willingness to do something. It's not. If the willingness is not there, the doing will not take place. No. This is called happiness here. Okay, probably this term will be understood better. There has to be a willingness. Where the willingness comes from? Somebody is happy with cooking, somebody is happy with mechanism, somebody is happy with doing some other jobs, somebody is happy with writing, somebody is happy with reading. Where is that willingness to do that? Then only you will be, achieving that. So the other things will be forceful. Okay, I'm hungry, I have to eat something, so make something and eat. That's a different thing. There's no willingness in that. And that's troublesome also. That will give only unpleasantness, unhappiness. Whereas to have the pleasantness, happiness means pleasantness again. Pleasantness comes from happiness, of course. In the organs also, in the indriyas and the mana also, there is a reflection of the happiness, because these are reflectors. They are all reflectors. Everything in the cosmos, everything in the universe has happiness, because everything remains in the happiness, because there is a reflection through that. Everything gets the sunlight, is it not? So when the sun rises, everything gets the sunlight. It's okay. Same way, in everything there is happiness. But what happens? You cannot look for happiness in a leaf of a tree, even though there is a reflection of leaf. You cannot look for sunlight in the water, even though you get a reflection on that. That's not sunlight. It's a representation of sunlight through the water. On the leaf, on the tree, on the mud, in the air, in the dust, in the this, in that, everywhere there is. But that's not sunlight. For that you have to be there to the sun. Even what you are feeling is not sunlight. The feeling has to go. I'm not practical, of course, here you won't get it, in fact. So what I mean to say that they're all reflections, representation, reflection through which. So when here sunlight, because we can understand the sun is there, the light is there. Whereas the happiness, there is no one is producing happiness, so it's not like a sun producing sunlight. There's nothing there. Happiness is just is there in the Prakriti, in the nature, in the Purusha. It's a projection from the Purusha into the Prakriti, and in the Prakriti everything is reflected in the happiness. In you, in everyone, in that, in the wood, in the mud, in the everything, there is happiness. See, because Unless there is happiness, there cannot be a creation. This is the source of every creation. This is the source of every happening. This is the source of every thought. This is the source of every event. This is the source of every change. This is the source of every evolution and dissolution and what is it? The manifestation and creation, etc., etc. In our language, say, will to do. In us, what happened? It's from the will have a manifested. When I have a will, I do something. It's a manifestation from the will. So only one term is fulfilled by having will. Whereas with happiness, creation, manifestation, dissolution, evolution, involution, everything takes place. That means there is nothing left. Every activity, every event, every incident takes place only because it is happiness that is trying to recover its own consciousness. Happiness has got it's trying to recover its own consciousness through reflecting through all these objects. We can call it as objects. And establish itself in its own pristine, all-comprehensiveness. Purnat Purnam Udachyate. Trying to establish itself its own pristine, all-comprehensiveness, with all put together. So, from Purnata, Purnamadam, Purnamidam, Purnat, Purnamudachyate. So, comprehensiveness of this, Purnat, Purnamudachyate. Purnasya, Purna Adaya. Purnamadaya means that complete, that's the, what is it? It's trying to recover its own consciousness. Trying to recover its own consciousness. Purnasya Purnamadaya. So what is left? Purnameva Vasishyate. So everything is Purna. Everything is complete by itself. There is a word called everything is complete by itself. This completeness comes from the source of that happiness. That is why if we want, we can do it. If you want really, you can do it. We say no. If you want, you can do it. If you have got will, you can do it. If you think you can do it, you can do it. So many words are used for this, that you can do it. So that means you become one with the source of this happiness through the process of dissolution, evolution from the manifestation, and then become the involution in happiness, so that you will be the Prakriti, you will be the Purusha. That's all. This meditation, the all-comprehensive meditation experience would be wonderful actually when you do this. It is this that is called activity. This is called Krita. That's why it is known as Krita Yuga or Satya Yuga. Krita Yuga, Satya Yuga, everything happiness. In Krita Yuga, everything is Krita. This is Krita. What is Krita? The Krita is that the happiness that is trying to recover its own consciousness. It is that it is called and establish itself in its own pristine all comprehensiveness in that. This is called the Krita. And this is called the enterprise and aspiration. So when you aspire, You will aspire to this, and this is enterprise. It is this that is also called cosmic evolution. In cosmic evolution, everything, here happiness means everything is self-controlled and self-discipline. Where is the happiness coming from? Again, this happiness is what? Happiness creates self-control and absolute relativity and balance. Absolute relativity and balance in the planets is created because of the source's happiness. The cosmic evolution in the cosmology, the cosmic evolution takes place because of that instrument which is known as happiness is existing. There is no contradiction between the planetary system. There is no contradiction in the Atmas. There are no contradictions. There are no contradictions in the creation. In the universe, there are no contradictions at all. No contradictions. Since there are no contradictions, that is why an evolution can take place. That's why cosmic evolution. If there are contradictions, there cannot be evolution. This is what I am thinking. Yes. One should not misunderstand that the world has been created through the Dvandvam, they have told. People explain it as negative and positive. Dvandvam. Dvandvam is not that negativity and positivity. These are again creation and manifestation. Dvandva, manifestation and dissolution, or manifestation and evolution, or manifestation and involution. Two of anything connected with the manifestation is called the Dvandva. Not otherwise. So what happens? So the evolution is here. That's why he said about the cosmic evolution. The cosmic evolution can happen by the source of happiness only. How you look at the arrangement of the cosmic arrangements, no, there are no contradictions. No. There are no, even though people call that, 7 stars coming in one line, there will be destruction in the world. I think 3 times in my lifetime I have heard. After this 70 years, I have heard 3 times at least. There is going to be end of the world. I was just looking, where is this? I have never seen this. Let me have a look at it. But I could not see that end of the world. Is it not? I think you all must have heard. 3 times I have heard there is end of the world. So, no. How is it possible? There is no possibility. Why? Because that happiness is the source of cosmic evolution. Pralaya is also a cosmic evolution. Pralaya is not a destruction again. It's only to create a balance. It's not a destruction, even though to our eyes it is a destruction. We call destruction as if one thing is going off from my sight, we call it as destruction. According to the beautiful theory of the cosmic evolution, nothing goes away from cosmos. Everything is there only. If this has gone from this form and shape, it is there in some other form and shape. How is it going? So is there any destruction? Is there any death? There is no death, there is no destruction, there is no nothing. So this is cosmic evolution. The cosmic evolution takes place when an evolvement, so that an involvement can take place, an evolution of cosmic evolution can take place when the adharma, that's why we called in Puranas, when adharma is removed, dharma is established. The cosmic evolution is nothing but establishing the dharma. That's all. It's called evolution, evolving. Evolving can be done only to the dharma. By how, by in which manner it has to be done? That which is manifestation, the manifestation that manifested has to be dissolved, then it can be evolved. When the manifestation is dissolved, then it is evolved. Then the involution takes place. Is how dharma is established. When dharma means, that dharma means again, when dharma is established, there is absolute happiness, ananda. No? There are no contradictions. There used to be, the contradiction was there, trying to establish, what is that? Ajnanam was there. That ajnanam was what? People thought adharma is dharma. So when it is thought adharma is dharma, adharma has to be dissolved into dharmam. When it has dissolved into dharmam, the manifestation of adharma has been removed and evolvement of dharma has taken place. When evolvement of dharma has taken place, involution has taken place. Bhagavan, God, Brahman has happened, Brahma Darshanam has happened. Is the meaning of it actually now, the other way around. So he says, it is that the cosmic evolution is what I have explained. This is called cosmic evolution. Everything gets involved in that. You see. Happiness is at the back of everything. Happiness alone is. Remember one thing, there is no word called unhappiness in Vedanta. There is no word called unhappiness, that what you use here in the materialistic world. There is no word called unhappiness in the Vedic science and Vedas and Upanishadic language, or in Vedanta, it is not there. Why? Even if you call unhappiness, there is happiness in it. So there is no unhappiness. See? He said, happiness is everything. And he also confirms, happiness alone is, he said. So he said, sukham tveva vijitnasi vyatam iti sukham bhagava. Happiness alone. Sukham bhagavo vijnasati iti purusha. There's one more action. One more thing has to be explained. Has to be labdva karoti sukhameva na sukham labdva karoti. There's also a mention here, na sukham labdva karoti. So that explanation will come. Here we have Maharshi says that one does something. Now here my contemplation was there. One does something out of that he feels okay, that is there. Here we have been taken gradually up to the point where it has been concluded that every effort is motivated by happiness. This is not merely a practical fact but also a psychological truth. But the mere recognition of the presupposition of the happiness behind every kind of activity does not solve the problem of happiness. We already explained about it. Happiness can be only understood within the limitations of our limited knowledge and in the lower consciousness level. When it goes to higher consciousness level, the meaning of happiness will totally be different. So he says, presupposition of happiness behind every kind of activity does not solve the problem of happiness. Just by knowing that, oh, everywhere there is happiness, is not solving the problem. There is still unhappiness as far as we are concerned. Even though the term unhappiness is not there, but in the lower consciousness only we are imposing a meaning to, contradicting to the truth. See, it's a contradiction of manifestation. So he says, problem doesn't solve its location, its whereabout, and its means of its acquisition. Normally, now he comes to the materialistic happiness. Normally in our workday world, we are accustomed to think that happiness is an achievement by means of an effort in the direction of an object which is regarded as the location of the happiness. It is strange, no doubt, that different subjects endeavoring in the direction of happiness have different objects wherein happiness is supposed to be lodged. Does not mean that one and the same object or every perceiving subject in the house or abode of the happiness of everyone. This is the irony of the whole affair. It seems to be present in every object, inasmuch as in every subject, in the target of approach of some object, subject or other than this world. Though it is true that no particular object can attract the recognition of all the subjects at the same time. This is the reason behind a doubt that can arise in the mind as to where the happiness lies. Now, I hope you understood what I mean here in a gist that in our world we are accustomed to think that happiness achieves from the possession or by experience, by activity or by any of these actions. We think we are achieving the happiness. It is strange that different subjects endeavoring in the direction. Now, if that is the case, here happiness is a permanent nature. None of the objects can give you a permanent happiness. When there is impermanency, anityam, impermanency in that, it is not called as happiness. So, one. Second is that the objective happiness happens because of the subjective happiness. And if there is a subjective happiness, it will not look for happiness from the object. So the subjective happiness related with satisfaction of objective happiness is also anityam. That is also anityam, which is impermanent. So in the subject also there is no happiness. If that's the case, it would not have been looking for happiness in the object. Now, let us identify that the third option is that the subject has found happiness in the object. But after some time, from the same object, the subject lost the happiness. That means it is not constant. When it is not constant, also there is no happiness. That's what impermanence we have told. There is no happiness is what he is saying. So he says it is also true that particular object can attract the recognition of all the subject, can attract, all the subjects at the same time, in ourselves, what happens? If I say one thing, one objective realization or one objective possession or achievement, we think we got the whole world. We're so happy at that moment of time. But this objective happiness cannot give happiness to all subjective happinesses, all subjective at all time. That's why there is a doubt behind arise mind in that where is the happiness then? If that object has to be, gives me constantly the happiness in all the subjects. In all the subjects means for us, in all the events of our life, if I acquire one happiness from one object, if that is happiness, it should give happiness to all my subjects. That means throughout my life, in everything, there should be happiness because of that object. Because that is not there, is why there is a doubt and confusion that then if that is the case, where is happiness lying? It is not in this object, it is not in this subject. If that is there in that object and this subject, in this subject and that object, it is not there. In this subject and that object, it is not there. No, this combinations and variations are there. Permutations and combinations. None of these permutations, combinations work at the fine end, and finally you will say, there is neither happiness in the subject nor happiness in the object. The impermanency is being established here in various methods, that's all. Ultimately, what we have to understand, the subject as well as object. Even though you want to, suppose your subject wants to derive happiness from the object, the objective experience to the subject is expecting the happiness will be absolutely ignorance, as the object doesn't have happiness, doesn't give happiness, but the subject is expecting happiness from the object. So the subject has got a misunderstanding that the object has got the happiness, whereas the subject should have the happiness instead of looking for happiness from the object. Is why it is impermanent. So then now there is a question for somebody who really contemplated on that, has got a doubt now. Neither the subject nor the object has happiness. Then where is happiness? That's why he spoke about the evolvement and things like that. He has covered a big chapter on that. Anyway, we will go through it, no problem. There's not many now, only two. This is the last. Then the next chapter begins, only 2-3 pages. Maybe next 1 or 2 classes we should. 2-3 classes. Okay, now he's continues about the happiness. Is it in me? Or is it in somebody? Or something else? Where is this happiness? You know the answer already. We all look for happiness in others. We think that will bring happiness to me. In fact, it is not happiness. The small pleasures, we are addressing it as happiness. Without knowing, these pleasures are such dangerous antibiotics. Got a great side effect. Is it not? You will feel boosted up. After the antibiotics is used, you will feel exhausted. That's why I call it as an antibiotic. You will feel the pleasure, will give you pleasure is a deep, steep downfall. But that's why he has asked, is it in me or is it in somebody or in something else? People who are looking for happiness in others and other things, they do not have happiness in themselves, is what he is coming to. If it is in the mind of the subject merely, as it is sometimes, no doubt, opined by the psychologists, then there will be no point in the mind moving towards an object of sense for the acquisition of the pleasure. They say that, pleasure is in the mind. So if it is there, it should not look for pleasure outside. If it is there, why does it want to acquire from outside? The very fact that the mind is not satisfied is what I said. The very fact that the mind is not satisfied with its own self and feels an obligation to move towards something outside should be the indication enough that something is lacking in the mind itself. The mind doesn't have the happiness. When you do not have the happiness, when you are not synchronizing, let me put it the other way around. When you are not having discipline in you, when you are not having that balance in you, discipline is that balance in you, when you do not have that self-control in you, which is not, I told you what self-control, not controlling, but to be in the nature is called controlling. Controlling is not that to be, containing in something a few disciplines imposed on you, but to be with the Prakriti, in Swabhava of the Prakriti, is called self-control. Totally different. To be in the Swabhava is called self-control. Not to be in the Abhava. To be with the Prakriti, to be with that your true nature is called self-control. When you are not from yourself, from your true nature, when you would like to acquire the nature from the objective, ignorant, knowledges or ignorant objective perception, then your Swabhava has got an Abhava. There's an absence in your true nature. It's called Abhava in Swabhava. There's an absence in your true nature. That absence in your true nature brings ignorance. And that ignorance tells you that you are not complete. That you do not have this, you do not have that. And that ignorance also instigates you that look for it. When he says look for it, the mind and the indriyas will look always externally to look for it. Is why we are looking for pleasures external to us. Is why in meditation and tapasya and jnanam, we close our eyes indicating that everything is in me. Everything is in me. Okay. Gradually when you, from that manifestation, that's manifestation. What? Everything is in me is manifestation. First is everything is a creation, me is a creation. Okay. Everything is in me is a manifestation. Then gradually in tapasya, it's not the me, it is the knowledge, it's the guru or the knowledge which is there, is called dissolution. It's not me, see, guru knowledge. After the upasana, then nidhyasana is dissolution. After that, along with that knowledge and the guru and the me and all, everything got layam, something else is called evolution. Then nothing is known, is involution. Don't know anything. After knowing everything, I don't know anything. It's involution. This is the status. This is called, this is how it is. So what happens? Where are we? Yes, okay. So he said, if it is in the mind, okay, then why should we look for outside? This lacuna in the mind is the cause for the movement of the mind towards something outside, searching for that which is not able of discovering in its own self. Everything is a discovery of its own self. It's not supportive to anything. They are all discovery of its own. That's why happiness is what? That the happiness revealing its own nature from the consciousness. That is derived. This is how it is deriving. So, it's all, this is how it happens. So, here also he says the same thing. Because of this lacuna, what is that lacuna? That you are the truth of you, or the discipline of you, or the self of you, or the prana of you, jivatma of you, not realizing that this happiness is only in you. Nothing else can compensate. It also has to be understood. It is not only that for us. When he says that it is only in this, it is not able to find out it is in you, that means you should also understand. Let us presume that it is not in you. As I told you, nothing else can make you happy. As happiness is the cause of everything and source of everything, it has to come from inside. Even if I am thinking something else can make me happy, that happiness has to be there inside me. And if that happiness is there inside me, why should I think that something else can make me happy, someone else can make me happy, or some other object can make me happy? This is contention. This is because that I am ignorant that there is happiness in me. The swabhava in me of that, prakriti nature is what Bhagavan Krishna has told in Bhagavad Gita also to Arjuna. Hey Arjuna, what are you thinking? That each and every capacity is given to you and it is there. It's not that you are exercising something new and then doing something and you are achieving a result. No. Result is already proclaimed and decided by me, Bhagavan says. It's already there, established. You just do whatever you want to do, it's already there. He doesn't understand that because that fulfillment and the fullness of the knowledge of that jnanam was not there, so he did not understand. After Bhagavan explains, then he realizes that it's not that. It is all there. So this happiness. So he says that in which discovery of this? So there seems to be a flaw in the doctrine that the mind alone is the source of happiness. Of course, we all know mind is not the source of happiness. Indriyas are not the happiness. When we are looking for happiness outside, it's the mind who is looking for happiness. Because mind cannot create happiness. Mind cannot make you happy. Mind will always look for objective pleasures and objective happiness, and objective pleasures and objective happiness are always temporary. There is no option. There is no ifs and buts there. They are only temporary. As I told you, the problem is okay, doesn't matter. Even if it is temporary, we also say that sometimes. Even if it is temporary, let me have that pleasure. Why not? Is there anything wrong? Some people have asked me that. TK, doesn't matter. I am not that involved. I don't want happiness. These chota, you say it is impermanent. Doesn't matter, it's impermanent. Charvakas. Let us say this is impermanent, but there is a pleasure. No. Let me have the pleasure. But then you should immediately remember I told you something about antibiotic. After the pleasure, this double suffering is there. Every objective pleasure you are looking for will give lot of problems. Lot of sufferings, Pleasure is 1 and the problem is 10. So, it's the equation. Is why he said there is a flaw in the doctrine of that mind alone is the source of happiness. Absolutely right. Because this doctrine is refuted by the very activity of the mind every day. Pleasure what you thought, pleasure what you get, pleasure what you expect, pleasure what is it. Everything is creating confusion. Oh, this is not what I want. I thought already there, what to do, how to get out to come out. Says antibiotic starts working. The doctrine of mind, because it is there, he says that it is, doctrine is refuted by every activity of mind every day. Every activity. क्या जरूरत था? And like our old people always said, old ladies, old people, क्या हुआ? What is it? The other person says that one is, you should have pleasure now because you have done the objective pleasure, you should be having pleasure, but you look very like that. What's the matter? अरे क्या बताएं, मती मारी गई. See, what's that? This is the word used. You see, colloquial language, but it has got the same meaning. Ignorance in the mati, buddhi. मती मारी गई थी हमारा. क्यों? क्या करें? What to do? Other fellow says अच्छा हुआ. But he also expresses little condolence to you because it's already mar gaya, mati mari gayi. He expresses his condolence. ठीक है, कोई बात नहीं, तो अगले जन्म में देख लेना. इस जन्म में तो कोई चांस नहीं है, तो मर चुका है मती. The mind every day is what he means probably, which moves towards things other than its own. These are the objects in the world around us. Now we come to the refuted by deeper analysis. Refutation by analysis of the deeper analysis of the happiness, let's say that. That's where I'm trying to find. I don't know where it is. It's still coming. Here, karoti, nasukham labdva karoti. This has to be understood. Nasukham labdva karoti is still coming. So we'll continue next class we continue. Last paragraph, page 184. No. I'm sorry. Second paragraph of 184, not the last. We'll start with second paragraph. Okay.